Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is Dr. Richard Smith. Good to be with you again. I'm here with my buddy, Josh Rhodes. Josh, how you doing?
Doing well, Richard. Happy Friday. Happy Earth Day.
Is that right? Today's Earth Day?
Yeah.
I don't know how I missed that
Earth
one.
Day. Yeah. Man, it doesn't feel right. We haven't talked and it's been 2-3 weeks. It doesn't feel right that they make us cram all these topics, all these subjects into a sub 30-minute block. But I appreciate you inviting me back, man.
Always good to talk to you.
I just looking at time would like to kind of get the ball rolling with you.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit I want to unpack. Can you see my screen? I figured I'd just kick it off sharing.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I thought this was a funny headline. I'm not going to ask you about Zuckerberg, though. I'll tell you about this article because I read it. 2019, they spent $23 million on Zuckerberg security and private jets. 2020, they spent $25 million. 2021, they spent $26.8 million. You can go through this article yourself, but I blame inflation. And that's my tee up on just a temperature check on the markets. Every time we connect, I try to kick off our conversations. Just finger to the pulse. You're in it day in, day out. You're having lots of conversations internally on podcasts. How is the U.S. looking, man? How are we looking?
Well, what to me this article speaks about is what I'd call the Mandarin class. The Mark Zuckerbergs. They just live by a different set of rules and a different set of ideals, but they preach to all of us about how we shouldn't be living like they do. Do as I say, not as I do. And that hypocrisy has just, I think, really undermined the United States in general, and it's created a huge mistrust, between, we can call it the haves and the have-nots, but, there's a record wealth gap. And I think that this does speak to where we're at in the markets because we've got an economy right now that really isn't working for everyone. That really is run by, I would say, the financial elites, and that has been increasingly financialized for decades now. The cost of money has been getting cheaper and cheaper for decades, even going negative, right? Not too long ago. And that has just enabled this kind of artificial wealth, I would say, that we're now seeing the problems of that with supply chain issues, not being able to produce, the things that we need, food shortages, inflation, et cetera. And I feel like that's really been decades in the making. I've been in the markets 25 years now, and where we're at today has been kind of predicted multiple times over the decades that I've been in the markets. But I think that we're really here now. And, the sign of that is that inflation is getting away from the Federal Reserve, and interest rates are rising dramatically. 30-year mortgage is now above 5% now. And there's going to be ups and downs in this cycle, but the cycle is real. And I think that there's no doubt at this point that we have broken 40-year trends in interest rates and in inflation, and that we're in a whole new world. I've been saying that for a while now. And it's really, what it really means is that we all have to be paying a lot closer attention to what's going on. Nobody's going to be making good decisions for us except ourselves. If you're relying on advisors who are just living in the past, who don't see the future, you're going to be getting advice for the last war and not the war we're in today.
Your mention of inflation is something I clicked on just coming into the call in my introduction there. You talked a bit about in your answer. I crossed paths with this article a couple days ago, and the headline says it all. Again, we'll share the link so those that are interested can go unpack it. But inflation in March was up 8.5% year over year. As you talked about, we're breaking records right now. This article goes on to talk about how that increase in inflation and just where we're at and the different economic pools, the average American is going to have to come up with another roughly $5,200 a year to live the exact same way that they lived the last year. I'm not even sure if there's a question attached to this. I think you did a good job unpacking that, but this article is one, if you just read off the headlines, will shock you, right? It kind of just drops your jaw of like, man, where are we at right now?
You're not going to get another $5,200. You're not going to be able to live the same life that you've been living. The free money is gone. And everybody's been feeling the effects of that free money as though it were real wealth. But it's gone. The cost of money is going up. And so that free wealth feeling, is going away. And and the supply chains are broken. And, we can't make things anymore. I've got my neighbor here who has a trucking business and he can't get trucks. He can't get, fuel is 3 times the cost of what it was, and he can't get employees. People don't want to work. They're like, no, I don't, I'd rather go play video games. And now I can make money, play to earn. And look, I'm not saying, that's not something you can try. But the fact is the economy still needs to build things, still needs to produce food, still needs to fix things. And, if you're raising your kids today, I'd recommend plumbing and construction over, gaming and finance.
I will tell you someone that's not having any issues creating wealth or having any issues at this moment. I'll shift screens here for us. I don't know if you saw this over the last few days.
I'd have to be living under a rock not to see this. I try to live under a rock, but
especially when this is going on, right? Yeah. Elon announced on Twitter. Actually, you can see in the far right upper hand corner. I made an offer April 14th. This is the same day as his TED Talk. I have his TED Talk pulled up on another frame, but I'm afraid to play it just because I know we're on YouTube. If nothing else, 54 minutes is a while. If you go to 12 minutes, 40 seconds, and you listen to the next 60 seconds, I think you'll get the gist of this conversation. But Elon announced on the 14th he was buying Twitter. And if I zoom out a little bit, just a couple weeks before this announcement of I made an offer to buy Twitter, he had purchased or invested and picked up 9%, becoming the largest shareholder of Twitter. He had a board seat. Actually, I try not to do public math, but 9% made him the largest shareholder by a long shot. Jack Dorsey, the founder, I think he sits at 2% today. So he's 4% or 4 times more than the founder, Jack Dorsey. My question here is, Elon is, and we've talked about this many times, a master meme artist. Is this a publicity stunt where, when he announced I'm investing in Twitter, the stock jumped 30%. And if you look at the past 10 years, it had been relatively stagnant. And so is this a publicity stunt, a chance for him to come in and make, a truckload of money? Or if you listen to that conversation, he talks about how Twitter has become this town square, and you're a user of Twitter. I use Twitter. He talks about how there's a lack of free speech, and he wants to open source the code. Yeah. Is there something real here? Could this be a game changer for us?
Look, he's dead serious about it. And he also will make use of the publicity, no doubt about it. But I don't think you put up $20 billion of your own wealth just for a publicity stunt. And he's gone and arranged the financing now to back his offer up. It's like the money's in the bank practically. So he's deadly serious about it. Look, Elon has been working for a new economy, all the way back to his PayPal days, right? Elon, Peter Thiel, even Jack Dorsey, these guys are serious about taking down the current establishment. And, they've been against the Federal Reserve for 20 years. And they're serious about what they're doing. And I think they really are fed up with the censorship, with the control. They want a more open, transparent, decentralized economy. I think Jack Dorsey left Twitter because he couldn't do what he wanted to do there, right? And he went to Square, where he could rename it Block and really work on what he thinks is the most important technology today, which is Bitcoin. So I think that the concepts that really lie behind Bitcoin, right? Back to the CryptoPunks and the cypherpunks, to this idea of decentralization, more sovereignty, more personal control. These are the driving missions of Elon, Dorsey, and others. And hey, God bless them. They've got the means to really disrupt things. And Elon has already won here, whether he acquires Twitter or not. He's made a huge statement that and put huge pressure on Twitter. And if he doesn't get it, he can go start his own public.
That was my
forum,
thought,
right? So yeah, I still think he's not going to get it. Personally, I think it's going to be a little more than he can afford. I don't think his current offer is going to succeed. I think he'd probably have to go up by another 50%. But man, has he made a statement, and he's gotten everyone's attention, and I applaud him for it.
That's my takes currently, for what it's worth. Far less valuable than yours, but I was listening to this guy Sean Purry of the Milk Road Talk, and he talked about how Elon currently sits in what is the perfect situation. Mm-hmm. He gets this giant spike in publicity. Yep. He's talking about open sourcing code, and so the people that are backing him is the type of supporters he's looking for. He owns 9% of the company. Like I mentioned, there's this giant spike in share price. Yeah. He offered a premium for shareholders, and so he's in their good graces. And even if he doesn't get this, he's in a position to not take on the headache of owning Twitter and having to rearrange this, and he's still able to reap the rewards.
Think about just that concept of open sourcing the algorithm, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I've been a critic of the social media algorithms for a long time now. I've talked about it extensively, weapons of mass addiction, et cetera, right? So just to say that and to have it endorsed by Jack Dorsey, no less, is incredible, totally. Right? To say, let's let people choose their algorithms, right? All of these business models, and this is the core thing that the board of directors at Twitter doesn't want to give up, is the ability to manipulate people through their algorithms, right? To have their algorithms be black box, that you don't know how your behavior is being subtly manipulated, right? There's the retweet button in Twitter, right? That anybody can retweet, right? It creates vast noise on Twitter, and there's no cost to retweeting, right? But it's great for Twitter's network effects, so-called, and for making everybody, just drink from a fire hose so that, you can't make sense of anything. So that was a clear example of Twitter, doing something that really just boosted their bottom line and wasn't what the people, who value Twitter and use it every day, would have benefited them, right? So making their algorithms transparent and open source and saying, doesn't mean that, you can change Twitter's algorithm. They're going to have control over their algorithms, but you could say, no, I'm going to go to a different social media platform that doesn't work this way. So that's incredible, and I really hope he pulls it off.
Agreed. Again, I'm going to point to this minute and second, and we'll link it here in the show notes. Okay. 12 minutes, 40 seconds. These 60 seconds of just the open source conversation is super strong. Talks about what, those that are blacklisted or that are taken off Twitter. If the code was open sourced, how you'd be able to go back in and see if that was a machine or human interjection and why they took that into account or why you were blacklisted. Just super interesting.
But it's a whole different economic model. Right. That's why he's like, I've got to take it private, because we can't make these kinds of changes, and put the public's money at risk. So it's a different economic model. How do you monetize that? These are still open questions. I struggle with this myself in my own business and enterprise. It's like, well, do you want to build a clientele that you get increasingly addicted to your product? Then, VCs are lining up at your door to write you big fat checks because you can, addict a new generation of investors with new technology and make their heads swim, and take their money as you go. No, that's not what I want to do. I want to work with people who really want to take control of their own destiny, who want that sovereignty and that autonomy, right? But, it's not that easy to find people that really want to do that and that are willing to make sacrifices to do that, right? And investors who want to write checks for that future. So it's a tough time. It's a tough time.
I love the question, how do you monetize? There, my last tab, I'm going to shelf that question because I'll come back to it. It's an interesting segue, but if I stay on Elon one more second, and I'm not going to make the whole show about him. Have you heard of the Elon effect?
No.
Yeah. This is something I've seen on Twitter. I've seen it on Reddit. The more close-knit, I'm going to use the term geekier because I fit in that bucket, geekier communities. But I'm going to call this a phenomena that I've seen started to surface. Okay. And that is when Elon gets involved in something or tweets that he's involved in something, it almost immediately sees a surge. And you see examples of that. There are many examples of that. Tesla, SpaceX, Dogecoin, when he did that whole spiel. Now Twitter, and this is a really cool graphic. I mentioned earlier when he announced he was getting involved, they saw a 30% jump in share price. They also sold $13 billion worth of shares changing hands on Monday alone. And you can see that this graph here tracks some of their other major days that Twitter would look at. It is double the trading volume of their next biggest day. Typically, IPO is a pretty big surge. You see that as
way line more over on the right side there.
Than IPO. Yeah,
literally almost off the chart.
Exactly. Yeah, my favorite was this one. The day Donald Trump was banned from Twitter, it was like 4x that. I asked if you'd heard of this effect. Maybe my follow-up is this something worth tracking? Have you ever thought about tracking an individual and trying to chase this, or is this? I mean, this is so fringe.
It's not that fringe. This makes me uncomfortable, because it's true, and trading, day trading off of these kinds of things isn't really creating the future, right? It's really just participating in the churn. And look, this is how the media works today. This is how you get attention. But I don't think this is what's going to build the future that a lot of us are here, in the hopes of being a part of that. So I, try to stay away from this kind of what I would call, noise money. I don't want to make money just on noise, I want to make noise. I want to make money based on real change that I believe in, that I think is going to be good for my children and their children. And this ain't it.
Yeah, this is literally chasing noise.
This is chasing noise.
This line here is
it is bonkers. Incredible.
That's bonkers.
It's bonkers.
We don't have to spend much time on this one, but I feel every week I dip my toe into some sort of crypto NFT bucket, and I think if we at some point we're gonna be able to draw this line backwards, and we've done a really good job at capturing the momentum of this space, which has been kind of fun. But this past Wednesday, Coinbase NFT beta went live, and so they've opened this up to just a small portion of their user base. I'm happy to get your take on what this means, but what I wanted to share, I mentioned I feel like we're gaining momentum, and I've shared in past episodes some numbers around just the NFT space as a whole and what it's done over the last 12, 18 months. Today, there are less than 1 million. Actually, I pulled the numbers last night. 360,000 wallets that have bought and sold NFTs. 360,000, which is, it's not that much in the grand scheme of things. Coinbase has 90 million global users. And so opening up the NFT platform where now these users can create, collect, connect their existing NFTs all in this platform. I'm under the impression, maybe this is wishful thinking, that this could really blow things up for the NFT space. Just that the amount of exposure 90 million global users will get you. Wanted to get your thoughts, feedback, or you could just say, move on, Josh. This isn't worth the time.
I actually talked about this when Coinbase first went public as a massive opportunity for them. I'm still skeptical about the real value that's available in the NFT marketplace right now. Most of what I see, seems more like a Ponzi scheme than something that has deep and enduring value. But there's no doubt that that NFTs are here to stay, and the fact that Coinbase has developed a marketplace for NFTs and can bring their mass to bear on that is a positive development for the NFT world.
Great.